Headed to the ultra-fast mountain roads of the Eastern Cape. The only one-day event on the calendar, it is also the only event with pace notes and a pre-event recce of the route. The crews gathered early in the chilly but clear weather for the recce, which allowed them to check the notes and make their own additions. A variety of vehicles from rental cars to bakkies to service vans took the route in formation at a predetermined speed.
I think coming here is always a bit of an education, you know. The roads are fast, they're difficult to read, you know. There are no trees, so we get used to following the lines of the trees and the contours, and the roads here seem to just sometimes divert towards their own side. You then try and pick up on the power lines next to the road, and they also turn away and the road goes straight. So you've got to really concentrate, trust your navigator, and the notes we're making today are crucial. You know, we need to stick to them and trust them and focus on them tomorrow.
Business commitments forced Guy Hodgson to take a sabbatical from rallying. Thus, Serge Damso enticed Robert Paisley into the hot seat. Paisley is also Johnny Gemmel's regular navigator in the African Championship.
Yeah, the pace notes look good. We do make a few changes here and there, changing a few mediums to fasts, and we've taken a few tightnesses out so that we can get a more fluency into our notes.
No, pace notes are fairly good. I've only made one or two changes, but basically purely just cautions, but the notes are very good.
No, they're all right. We're taking out a couple of instructions here and there. There's a lot of information, sometimes a lot of instructions to be read out at the same time, and some of the instructions are rather long, so we're taking out some of them. But it all appears to be all right, going nicely, getting used to them, and we're looking forward to using them tomorrow in the race.
The rally kicked off at 6 a.m. sharp in the pouring rain. Keane was first off the line as Judd made a final check of his pace notes before the second golf got going. Damso was next to leave. Conditions were miserable, with snow covering the mountains and the rain unwilling to let up, even for a moment. Unexpectedly, Habich came through stage one first, fighting to keep his golf in a straight line in the muddy conditions. Keane, who had started first on the road, was already out with a blown engine after 23 kilometers. With nothing to lose in the championship race, Damso threw caution to the wind. He did it successfully too, mastering the conditions best over the 37-kilometer stage to stretch out a 23-second lead over Habich. Watch him brake hard at the final left-hander as he came across the cows in the road. Most cars thereafter would find the same live obstacles in their path. From inside Fekner and Levkovitz's car, we can see how hard the drivers had to work to keep the car on the road, even in a straight line. Take note also of the excessive wheel spin in the mud, with the engine constantly hitting the rev limiter. This was made worse by the fact that Fekn, like many others, chose to start on dry tyres, fearing that the rough roads would destroy the soft, wet weather tyres before the end of the stage. It was a mistake. Even the local wildlife ended up being interested spectators. Team Total's Lawrence and Vermeulen had started the stage on wet tyres, and it paid off as they were third fastest overall, winning Class A7 by 22 seconds in the process. The four-wheel drive vehicles were expected to revel in the conditions, but Raider and Buerta were cruising through the first stage with flashes flashing. Their event already over after a blown turbo. The scenery was spectacular, but the drivers and navigators did not notice. Van der Walt and Burrows were one of the crews that elected to start on dry tyres, and they were fighting for grip everywhere. They lost 2 minutes 48 seconds to class rivals Lawrence and Vermeulen in this stage alone. Botha and Jordan Subaru was one of the few four-wheel drive vehicles to make it through stage one. He had finished both events, he had contested well up the leaderboard and was determined to score another points finish. Fourth on the opening stage, did very nicely, thank you. JP Damso with new navigator Kobus Frey was another to start the event on dry tyres, and he too lost chunks of time. He would be stuck with the tyres for a second stage after his service crew failed to make it to service at the end of the first stage thanks to the conditions. The same fate that befell Raider in the Mitsubishi befell Berger and Swanepoel in the Subaru. A blown turbo saw to it that they too could only cruise through most of stage one and into retirement. Barry Grobler and Paul van Wyk, the Sasol Volkswagen player, was another crew to start on dry tyres, and they were also forced into damage control mode. They did better than some to post the 7th fastest time on the stage. Port Elizabeth's Keith Colman and Uwe Koch were not enjoying the conditions in their Sasol Volkswagen player, finishing the stage down in 17th place. Team Total's Craig Trott and Gerard Sneeman were also without the right tyres on their Class A6 Corolla, allowing the Class A7 Sasol Volkswagen player of Tony Ball and Dean Riedlinghuis to close right up. Ball and Riedlinghuis finished the stage 5th fastest and second in class, albeit 22 seconds behind the class winners. Sanders and Girike also did not take to the conditions in the Class N2 Team Total Toyota, but they were nonetheless fastest in class on this stage. Chris de Wit and Shane Saville severely bent their CTH Toyota Taz early in the stage after a hard impact, but this did not deter the pair, who continued at a good lick to finish third in class, just 45 seconds down on the class winners Damso Jr. and Frabe. Watch for the cows crossing the road. Bem and Sinclair's 6-sounding and smoking Palbin Toyota Corolla could only cruise through the stage, but would not even see the end of it and would take no further part in the rally. Russ and Noonan had selected the right tyres for their Sasol City Golf and made the most of their advantage to open up a lead of over 30 seconds over their Class A5 rivals. His performance saw him post 9th fastest stage time, a superb performance for such a small car. With the cows posing an ever-increasing danger to the crew's motoring scribe Steve Wicks decided it was time to herd them out of the way. He was so efficient he could make a career out of it. Despite the advantage of four-wheel drive, Mally Saville and Alec Harris could not get to grips with the conditions and could only post the 21st quickest time in their Subaru. They lost 6 minutes to the class leaders on this stage alone. Berger explains what went wrong.
Yeah, we were about 10 k's into the stage, so we withdrew from the rally. There's not enough time to change it.
This first stage, not anybody's play, mate.
No, definitely not. We really enjoyed it with the four-wheel drive. It was quite nice, but it wasn't a nice stage at all for the other vehicles.
Raider told us about his retirement.
Yeah, you know, we had a similar problem last year where we cannot get this computer in this car to compensate for the height. So we were going very nicely, and then as we started climbing up the pass, then we lost all power. And obviously to drive this car in these conditions, never mind in anything else, without power on demand is very, very treacherous. So we're now trying to sort it out. As you can see, I've got a machine here, a computer, and we're going to try and see if we can reach in the mixture. We don't really know why the machine doesn't compensate, but unfortunately it's cost us at the rally, and we're out. What can I say?
Round 6 of the South African Rally Championship. We're in Aliwal North in the Eastern Cape. The rally started at 6 o'clock this morning and it's been raining all day ever since. Sorry.
Probably the worst conditions I've seen in a long time. It's difficult even to stay on the open sections. And as we've seen, it's taken its toll. Enzo's missing. Apparently he's had car problems, but the much favoured four-wheel drives are nowhere. Skalk's gone, and so is the Raider. Leon Botha we've seen in action a few times, spinning and carrying on, and he's now obviously dropped back. So it looks like a two-car race at this point in time between Abik and Serge. And we've just seen him come through with a flat wheel, dropping 19 seconds. So I think it's pretty close between the two of them.
Now, Serge started off at quite a fair crack this morning.
He took 23 on the first stage, 4 seconds on the second stage, but now he's dropped 19 due to the flat wheel. But, you know, I think he's just in that mood that he doesn't give a damn. He's got to win or do nothing because he's had such a bad year. But for Abik, on the other hand, this could put him right back in the championship. Enzo was leading by 28 odd points. And second place even here will make it a 1 point difference. So the championship's wide open at this point in time.
And this event, it's the only one-day event on the calendar, and it's quite unique, high up in the mountains in this area.
And freezing cold, I might add. Yes, it's one of the fastest rallies. It's all public roads, very fast, but like you said, it's been raining for all night last night and all day today. And conditions are very, very difficult. I mean, you know, only the top guys are really going to go fast. And we've seen, I think Erlen is battling a bit. He's not really used to this type of thing. And third place is wide open. I think Etienne is doing a very good job. He's really putting in some good times. But I think the attrition rate is going to be very high. So anything could happen.
With the Sasol Volkswagen squad also unable to get wet tyres to its teams at service, Van der Walt was still on dry tyres and struggling for grip on stage 2. Damso Jr. was also still battling away on dries and was being closed down quickly by Botha and the Subaru. But sniffing his prey ahead, Botha got on the gas too early and spun down the track. He was soon on his way again and, despite a few more hairy moments, made it safely to the end of the stage. Kroblar was once again going well and headed for another 7th place finish on the stage and second in class behind Lawrence in the team total Toyota. Coleman and Koch were still battling the conditions but would retire at the end of the stage with suspected differential problems. Trott and Snyman continued their good drive and turned the tables on Damso Jr. and Frey to take the Class A6 win for the stage. Ball and Riedlinghuis were also enjoying the conditions and still pushing hard. They were rewarded with equal 7th overall for the stage, tied with teammates Kroblar and Van Beek. With a healthy class lead, Sanders and Gericke treated this stage with more caution, only managing the 19th fastest stage time. Despite his Toyota still crabbing on the road, De Wit was impressively still putting in competitive stage times and knocking on the door of the top 10. Russ and Noonan were still dominating Class A5, taking almost another minute on the stage from rivals Versace and Swan, who weren't hanging around either in their team total Toyota Taz. Saville and Harris were also still struggling with the conditions, putting in erratic performances that saw them either on the fringes of the top 10 or near the bottom 20. Having rolled their Subaru for a TV shoot shortly before the event, Marius Swart and Jan Syme were contesting the event in their old Honda and determined to keep it in one piece. Adrian Karth and Rikus Fourie were producing a solid performance, finishing between 10th and 15th on stages before going off the road on stage 4 and being time barred. Mortimer was using all his experience to post some good stage times in the Class N3 Nissan Sentra, while Michael Houghton and Craig Jennings were playing it cautious in the conditions in their Toyota Taz, as were Peter Teague and Donovan Brown in their Polo Player. Motoring scribe Steve Mearns and navigator Kieran Noonan were driving superbly on their rally debut, beating many of the more experienced crews in the process. But the surprise of the stage was Class N2 crew Andy Hague-Smith and Gerald Brace. After being 4 minutes slower than the class leader Sanders in stage 1, they clocked the 5th fastest stage time overall, almost 2 minutes faster than Sanders on this one. They never managed such a giant-killing act again, though. Sasol Volkswagen development team in Zimande and Meyiwa were learning what tough rallying is all about and putting up a very credible performance in the process. Top cars Colin Mileman and Andre van Deventer finished this stage, but were on their way to retirement in the next. They got the Automark Toyota Taz stuck on a mud bank in stage 3 after a harmless spin due to shock failure and would go no further. Even spectators were getting stuck and required a helping hand from the locals. Back at the head of the field, Howick and Judd were still going as fast as they could in the conditions. The gap to Damso and Paisley was 19 seconds, and they were determined to close it down. But for Damso and Paisley's Toyota, everything was not going right. Their run of bad luck continued with a right rear puncture that cost them 19 seconds and put Howick and Judd in a tie for the lead. Now on the right tyres, Fecken was more competitive, but he still had to settle for second best in Class 2 Lowrance. Lowrance was driving the Total Corolla neatly and efficiently, the result of which showed in the times. He was once again third quickest overall in the stage and 44 seconds faster than Fecken in the Polo Player. Van der Walt and Burrows were still third in class and trying hard to narrow the gap to Lowrance and Fecken ahead. On wet tyres at last, JP Damso could push harder, but he was still battling to get on the pace of the class leaders and had to settle for third fastest in class on the stage. Krobela and Van Wyk had kept out of trouble and were putting in solid performances to keep their hopes of a good class finish alive. Trott and Snyman had got a grip on the conditions and were now enjoying themselves and putting in some fast stage times. They finished the stage 7th fastest overall, some 42 seconds faster than their nearest class rivals. Ruiz and Noonan were still well ahead in class but continued to push hard. Once again, they produced an impressive performance to finish 8th overall and 1st in class, although Fasaki and Swan were a lot closer on this stage. The Subaru had lost its rear brakes, but despite additional scars on the car from a few altercations with the landscape, Botha's press-on style saw him pushing hard despite a healthy class lead. Saville and Harris were still not prepared to risk anything and were simply hanging on for a finish. The same went for Sanders and Girike, who had a healthy class lead and just wanted to stay on the road to the end to claim maximum class points. After 2 non-scores this year, Houghton was hopeful of a top 3 class finish, but was taking no chances. Nzimande and Mayiwe were setting some good stage times and, more importantly, keeping it on the road at the same time. Team Total's development squad, Vusi Mabenga and Patrick Yande, were not as quick as Nzimande and Mayiwe, but they had also kept it on the road to this point, which was no mean feat in the conditions. Meanwhile, the end for Van der Walt was near. He explains what went wrong.
Well, as we come up the hill here, the engine just made a hell of a noise and a lot of smoke coming at the back of the exhaust, and we thought the car was on fire, but it looks now as if the engine, we've dropped maybe a valve, that's what it looks like. So our day is run and over. We're just waiting for our support team to come and fetch us. Hopefully they will come today.
Damso's poor luck continued in stage 4 when a brake caliper destroyed itself, leaving him brakeless. Having to cruise through the stage, he lost 1 minute 29 seconds to Habich, and his chances of winning the event were effectively over. Fecken was still using all the road as he tried to close the gap to Lawrence, but to no avail as the latter was once again faster on the stage. In fact, Lawrence once again took over 40 seconds from Fecken on his way to second fastest stage time behind Habich. JP Damso was happier with his car and the conditions now and took the fight to the class leaders. He finished second fastest in class, just 4 seconds down on the winners. Goethe had avoided further mishaps and was still leading the four-wheel drive class by far. He was quick in stage 4, finishing third fastest, just 3 seconds slower than Lawrence. Although he wasn't under any threat, Sanders picked up his pace on the stage to record the 9th fastest time, more than 2 minutes 30 seconds faster than his closest rival. With a comfortable lead, Rus was pushing harder than he had to and nearly paid the price. He was lucky to escape this one and quickly realized that he had used up one of his lives and needed to ease off a bit for the remainder of the event. Fasaki was slower than Rus on this stage, but was waiting in the wings, hoping that the Golf driver might just gift him the event, if he kept pushing as hard as he was doing. Swart and Syme were second quickest in class to Sanders on this stage, but how they must have missed their four-wheel drive Subaru in these conditions. Under pressure from a closing competitor, Teague got the players spectacularly crossed up, but caught it well and lived to fight another day, as the Castrol Media Challenge Toyota of Mearns closed in for the kill. Looking more like circuit racing, Cart had caught up with Haig Smith after losing almost 15 minutes in the stage and was now looking for a way past. No easy task on these roads. Track racer Gugu Zulu and Dave McGregor were also finding the conditions tough, but despite this scare, they finished the stage well within the top 20.
Yanni, it looks like one of the most difficult rallies you've driven in a long time.
Yeah, no, it's very, very tricky. It's very quick. The roads are very, very quick, very slippery. So the margin for error is absolutely zero. Everyone's got to be very precise, and I think a lot of luck also helps here.
I'm sure it does. I've seen some flat wheels. Are you all on wets all the time?
The first 2 stages we used dry tyres and it didn't work well. And then we decided to take a bit of a gamble, use the wet tyres, because I think we're scoring about half a second a kilometre with the wets. But of course you're running the risk of punches, but so far it's paying off.
So apart from the difficult conditions, it looks like you're having your own difficulties as well.
Yeah, unfortunately we started this last stage on the same time as Yanni, and so we just gave away a minute and a half there. We had a caliper come off and went through the rim, and so we had a punch on top of it too, and no brakes, so it wasn't too... I didn't really enjoy that stage.
Must have kept you busy in these conditions, isn't it?
Well, it's already a problem to try and keep the car, and without any back brakes, it wasn't good. It wasn't fun.
And tell me, the new Navigator, working well?
Yeah, you know, we've taken a bit of time to get to know to each other, but it's no problem so far.
Also lying third overall, quite comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I believe we're about 3.5 minutes, I think, ahead of the fourth place overall. Yeah, I'm happy. I think we just got to keep station now. Stage 5 is cancelled, very treacherous road, so I think 6 and 7 and 8 will be all right.
With 4 of the 8 stages completed, only 23 cars of the original 40 were still in the event. Conditions remained miserable, and it was no fun for the service crews.
Yeah, the service crew guys really seem to be struggling. We always have to wait for them. It's really a tough task for them to get to us on time. We're not too bad because we've got the right tyres and dips and everything, but they're struggling, yeah.
The conditions today are absolutely shocking. You'd swear we've got four-wheel steering. You just can't get the power down. The corners are slippery, and I've just decided to try and back it off here and just concentrate on getting through. The guys up front are really pushing, they're taking risks, but for rallying, no, not the best conditions at all.
With stage 5 having been cancelled as it was deemed impassable, the famous Otto du Plessis pass was next up. Habich was once again first into the stage and would get the best of the conditions as the mist moved in quickly once he was through, severely reducing visibility for the following cars. He won the stage by over a minute from Damso. It was a good stage for Fecken too, as he eventually got one over rival Lawrence, posting a time 20 seconds faster than the Toyota driver. Buerta also put in his best performance of the rally to set the third fastest stage time and secure his 4th place overall. This was the last we would see of Damso Jr. and Frey as they were about to retire after going off the road in stage 7 and getting stuck. Trott and Snyman were still delivering top 10 stage times and entrenching their class dominance. Tony Ball was also still setting top 10 times despite destroying his rear screen along the way and was looking for only his 3rd finish of the year. Despite appearing to ease off a bit, Sanders put in a flyer on the stage for 6th best time, by far his best effort of the event. With stage 8 also set to be cancelled due to impassable roads, Habich entered the final test just having to finish to be declared the winner. He did more than that, keeping the hammer down and taking the stage win by over a minute from Fecken. Damso was still suffering brake problems and was not about to jeopardize his chances of a rare finish. 4th on stage and 2nd overall was good enough. With a comfortable class lead and 3rd overall in the bag, Lawrence also just stroked it home, settling for 3rd fastest on the stage behind class rival Fecken. Buerta's Subaru bore testimony to yet more off-road excursions, but fortunately he kept it going to the end to take a well-earned 4th overall. Kroglar's polo player was sounding very sick, but he got it to the end in a solid 8th overall and 4th in Class A7. Trott and Snyman won Class A6 and took 5th overall in the team total Corolla after a fine drive. Saunders and Hiraker took Class N2 spoils with 11th overall after a strong performance. De Wit and Saville persevered with their bent and battered Taz to take second in class with one of the drives of the rally. While another sterling drive came from Russen Noonan, who lifted the tiny Golf into 7th overall and a healthy class win. Saville and Harris pattered along to the end, finishing second in Class N4, some 22 minutes behind class winner Botha. Mortimer and Hiraker also did not extend themselves on their way to the Class N3 win and 12th overall. But arguably the drive of the rally went to Mearns and Noonan, who were most impressive on their rally debut. Bloomer and Wood were the only Class N1 finishers. But the victory went to Habich and Judd, who did not put a foot wrong throughout the event. More importantly, the win put them back in the lead of the championship. Damso was happy to finish an event again, while Botha was equally pleased with 4th. Ball and Ridlinghuis posted their best result for a long time, while Russen Noonan embarrassed a few of the big guns with their performance.
At the end it turned out to be quite an easy victory, but it must have been a hell of a hard workout.
Yeah, I think the conditions are very, very difficult. You know, the mountain passes on their own is quite daunting, but I think to have the amount of rain that we've had made it very difficult. But in any case, we had a fair amount of luck, and I think we needed a bit of luck after the last 2 events.
You only had your fair share of problems in the beginning, but 4th at the end is a good result.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very happy. I'm actually very glad to be here. We lost our rear brake system in the second stage, so from there I had to drive the front brakes only because the rear brakes were blocked off. And we had a few very, very serious close ways.
But this wasn't exactly the event to get used to a car, was it?
No, I just said this is now getting ridiculous. We had it in Port Elizabeth, we had it here now, so I'm starting to become quick on the wet as well.
With 2 rounds to go in the championship, Sasol Volkswagens filled the first 4 positions. Just 6 points separate the 2 leading Volkswagen crews at the top of the standings, with a tough fight to the end expected between them. Lawrence was the big mover in the points, jumping from 10th to 6th.